As night falls in Alice Springs, a storm is brewing and a quiet CBD erupts. Smashed windows line the streets while night patrol services circle the town. It's 1 year since the Prime Minister touched down in Central Australia.
These are complex problems and they require a full solution.
His visit led to alcohol bans being reimposed on Aboriginal town camps and communities across the territory. For some, not much has changed since then.
There is constant yelling, there is constant fighting.
With an office in the town centre, Angelique Glasson has watched Alice Springs and her work change over 27 years. Many of her long-term clients now plan to leave and buy up elsewhere.
They don't want to be here anymore. They don't want their children to think that the behaviour that's going on here is normal.
Last summer, Alice Springs was in the grip of an alcohol-fuelled crime wave, leading to calls for alcohol bans to be returned until better safeguards were put in place.
Something needed to be done. I don't think it's okay to see in an intensive care unit, out of all the beds there, the majority of those beds were taken up by women who were on life support. And a lot of that came from alcohol-fuelled violence.
Around the same time, bottle shop trading hours were slashed.
Certainly there was quite clearly a significant reduction in alcohol-related violence after the two big reforms that were done at the beginning of last year came into effect. Now, I can't say which one of those two, or if it was both of them together, resulted in that big drop of violence. I don't know how well that's been sustained either.
When the bans were reimposed, it was done with a proviso that communities could develop their own alcohol management plans to decide for themselves if they want to opt out of the restrictions. This tiny outstation west of Alice Springs is the first to submit theirs for anti-government sign-off.
If you do work hard all day and you come back and at the end of the week you want to sit down and have a beer and not be treated differently for that, just because we happen to be 20 minutes from town. It does feel like we're being punished before we even commit a crime. And it's clearly not working. Anyone that spends 10 minutes in Alice Springs can tell you that alcohol restrictions haven't worked.
The NT Labor government let the bans lapse in 2022, describing them as race-based policy. They have not yet given clarity on whether they'll continue indefinitely. With an NT election around the corner, crime continues to be one of the biggest issues on voters' minds. But those on the ground say there needs to be a closer focus on the issues causing crime in the first place.
I was shocked at the lack of infrastructure and support in Central Australia. And, if you compare the top end to the centre has certainly been neglected.
I'm fairly certain that they would have more success if they took all that effort and all that money and helped the people who have issues and left the rest of us to our own devices. Until we do start becoming a problem, and then, yeah, absolutely direct it at us, but for the average person who just wants to go get some beers, it's a pain in the bum.
Walking a fine line between personal freedoms and stemming the flow from a destructive social problem. Lee Robinson, ABC News, Alice Springs.